What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I want to do something a little different today, okay? Just bear with me. Let me play with this. So I watched AEW's Fyter Fest, which just so happened to be tonight, and I want to kind of talk about it. I want to give you my thoughts and my feelings and my opinions and all that good stuff. If you're like me, then you're a wrestling fan. If you're not, you probably like my video game content, and that's cool too. Thank you for that. But if you're like me and you like wrestling and you want to talk about it, this is a great place to do it. So, AEW Fyter Fest. Let's get into it. So we started with the buy-in, which is the pre-show for AEW, and I'm assuming now that the buy-in is going to be the name of all the pre-shows, which is kind of interesting because I got when it was called the buy-in for Double or Nothing, because the buy-in, Double or Nothing, you've got the gambling theme going on. It makes total sense. But for things like Fyter Fest and Fight for the Fallen, I don't know if the buy-in is... I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter, right? It's the pre-show. Who cares what you call it? You could call it pre-show party time. Does it really matter that much? I guess not, right? So we kick off the show, and this is kind of an interesting show, so maybe touching on that makes a little sense. But this is a co-promoted show. This is AEW and CEO, the video game fighting tournament company. I guess CEO. I don't know much about e-gaming. I know a little bit. I know enough to kind of, I know a little, I guess. I watch some of the tournaments online I've seen, but I'm not 100% familiar with it. So CEO, I'm assuming, is either a fighting game tournament or it's some company that sponsors fighting game tournaments. I'm not sure. I'm a little fuzzy on that. Either way, this was a co-promoted event from AEW and CEO, so there was a little bit of that. Kenny Omega is heavily involved in CEO and fighting games and gaming in general, so the crossover is a little bit of him, right? He's kind of the crossover there in between those two worlds, and this event kind of blends those two worlds together. So AEW is obviously coming off of Double or Nothing, a huge event that had a lot of momentum for them, with Jon Moxley debuting at the end of the show. The wrestling world was abuzz. There's a lot of fervor behind AEW right now. It's kind of the darling of wrestling currently. So there is that, and they're coming off of that. Now, Fyter Fest was always kind of understood to be a smaller show. You have those like large scale shows, right? Like Double or Nothing and All Out coming up in Chicago. We know that those shows are kind of like held at a higher tier than maybe Fight for the Fallen and Fyter Fest that we got tonight. So coming into this show, my expectations for it were a little lighter, right? I kind of thought, well, we're not going to get kind of as big of a show as we got with Double or Nothing. I don't know what I expect in terms of quality. I guess I expected good quality because it's AEW and there's a lot of good people behind it. So I still expected a good quality show. I guess I just didn't expect as grand of a show as Double or Nothing was. And you know what? I think that's kind of the takeaway that I had. This was a phenomenal show. It was great. It furthered some storylines. It kind of gave us direction where AEW's kind of going, but it wasn't as grand as Double or Nothing. And again, didn't really expect it to be. So let's run down the whole card. We'll start with the buy-in. That's the pre-show. There were video packages throughout mostly the pre-show. There may not have even been one on the main show. It might have just been on the pre-show that were comparing Fyter Fest to Fyre Fest. Now, I never watched the Fyre Fest documentary, so I really have no knowledge of the comparison here, but I know that's what they were comparing to. So they were kind of doing that throughout the night. The pre-show was hosted by Excalibur, a Golden Boy, who I guess is some video game guy. I don't really know. Maybe I should know that. And a guy named Logan Sama. Yeah. The commentary, by the way, I guess this is a good point to mention. Even during the pre-show, was not egregious at all. It was actually a much better, I thought, personally, than the commentary for Double or Nothing, and I think that standard pretty much carried it throughout the show. I thought Golden Boy was a really good third man, and I know a lot of people were criticizing Alex Marvez. Honestly, I wouldn't mind them keeping this Golden Boy on and having him do some more commentary. I thought he did a great job. I thought the commentary tonight was excellent. So we kicked off the pre-show with Private Party versus SCU versus the Best Friends. And this was a pretty good match. It started off really slow. And then it kind of built as the match went on. And then by the end of the match, it was really good. There were a lot of good spots. Going into this match, I was really excited to see Private Party. And I think after the match, with some polish, I actually think these guys are really, really... They have the potential to be really, really big stars in the wrestling world. I mean, they're very athletic. They're very charismatic. They have a lot of potential, and I think they really could be something here. There was a spot in the match where one of the members of Private Party, I believe it was Isaiah Cassidy, was standing out on the apron. The other member of Private Party was kind of flipped onto his back. And he flipped back into the ring. He did a tornado DDT. And then Isaiah did a moonsault outside of the ring. It was a really cool spot. It looked really cool seeing it live. Again, the match kind of picked up as it went on. The Best Friends ended up winning the match. They pinned Isaiah Cassidy. It was a match with a slow start, really picked up at the end. I would have given this probably 3 1/4 stars. I thought, the slow start kind of held it back a lot. And at first I was kind of watching it and I'm like, all right, like this is a, kind of just a triple threat tag team match. Okay. But it ended up being a really good start to the show. We got a video package at this point with the Dark Order who threaten the Best Friends. Lights go out. Lights come back on, and a bunch of members of the Dark Order who are like demons, I guess. They're demons or I don't know. It's some sort of slave boys with masks on. There's something going on there. Anyways, they were surrounding the ring. The Best Friends were trapped in the ring. They really couldn't get out, and then it ended up being the lights would go out again, and then they came back on, and the members of the Dark Order were gone. So kind of teasing a feud maybe there between the Best Friends and the Dark Order, and possibly teasing some of who's going to be heavily featured and involved and pushed in this tag team tournament that AEW is doing when they start on TNT. And that tournament will determine who the tag team champions were. So that's fine. I'm okay with that. The Dark Order is interesting. And when they were the Super Smash Brothers, they were a pretty exciting team. So I'm fairly interested to see where this goes. I've never really been a big fan of the Best Friends. And I know it's kind of like, it makes me a jerk or something. But I really just, they're okay. But I don't know. They don't excite me as much as some of the other teams. Backstage, we get the Fyter Festival video packages that, again, don't land with me very well because I did not watch the documentary. So I don't know. If you got something out of it, that's great. Librarian Leva Bates comes out. I really am not digging this librarian gimmick. And to be honest with you, the way that the crowd was reacting, I don't think that they were digging it either. It's just, I don't know. It's not for me. It's a little bit of goofiness, and I get you can have some goofiness in wrestling, and I'm okay with that. But these two just shushing each other, and just Peter Avalon and Leva Bates, and they're both librarians, and they're friends, but they're not friends. I don't know. I'm really not into it. The whole librarian thing to me is pretty goofy. The crowd didn't seem into it either. And that played into the match that happened too. Allie versus Leva Bates was the next match. It was a match. It was alright. I don't know. It wasn't great. Peter Avalon kept getting involved in the match, and he would help Leva, but there's some competition there. I don't know. The match ended when Peter threw in a book, and he was trying to throw it to Leva, but Allie caught the book, threw the book to Leva, and then finished the match. So Allie ended up winning. Again, I wasn't really impressed. I would have given it 1 1/4 star, 1.5 stars. Really wasn't that impressive of a match, and I'm really not impressed at all with this librarian gimmick. After that, we get the hardcore match between Michael Nakazawa and Alex Jabali. I don't know. I didn't watch last year. This was some sort of comedy match. I will say this. Alex, he did some moves for a guy who's not involved in wrestling. He even took a spot where he took a dive into a table from the apron. So good for him there. I mean, I guess from a goofy match standpoint, you know, it was fine. It wasn't egregious or ridiculous. I do think that Jabali got a lot more offense on Nakazawa than I would have given him. But, again, it's a comedy match. It's on a pre-show. Is it really that important? I guess that just depends on how important you want to push Michael Nakazawa. So Nakazawa wins 3/4 of a star. Maybe. It was a comedy match. Next, we get Jim Ross coming out to do commentary, and it is time to kick off the pay-per-view. We open with a spot from Moxley, or actually I think the pre-show closed with a spot from Moxley, basically promising us chaos, and boy would he deliver on that promise. We get an opening video package that recaps Double or Nothing, and then our announced team is introduced, Jim Ross, Excalibur, and Golden Boy on commentary for the event. We start the show with Christopher Daniels versus CIMA. This was a good match. It was very technical. It was a great match. There wasn't too much to talk about in this match. CIMA ended up winning, which was a bit of a surprise to me, but I guess they're building a match between CIMA and Kenny Omega, so you want CIMA to win so that he goes into that match, and if Omega beats him, which I predict that he will, it adds weight to the Omega victory. So I get why CIMA won. It just kind of makes me wonder what are they going to do with Christopher Daniels? I don't know. But anyways, it was a great match. About a 3-star match. There was nothing egregious with it. Not really much to talk about with it either. It was a back and forth match. Pretty good. Next, we get the triple threat match between Rio, Nyla Rose, and Yuka Sakazaki. In all honesty, with this match, I would have booked this match. And again, we don't know where they're going storyline-wise. I would have come into this match thinking that Nyla was going to dominate the entire match, throw these two girls around, get the pinfall, and win. Because after Double or Nothing, I would think you would want to build Nyla Rose as a real strong, tough contender, right, in the female division, the women's division. They didn't really do that. Nyla had some spots where she showed off some strength and she dominated the two girls, and in a lot of instances, the two smaller women had to team up to take Nyla down, but we didn't really get that. Like, I guess I just was expecting Nyla to come in, throw these girls around, just wreck them, pin them, and get the heck out of there. And it wasn't that at all. These girls got some offense on Nyla, and to be honest with you, Riho ended up winning. It was a good match. It was an entertaining match. It just did not go the way that I thought it would. There was one cool spot where one of the girls dove on Nyla, and she caught her in the air, and then another one dove, and she caught her too. That was a pretty fun spot. I don't know. I would have booked it differently, but we'll see where they go with it. Maybe this was the right thing to do. Kip Sabian joins the commentary team, and we find out that he will be taking on the winner of the next match. It is the four-way MJF, Jungle Boy, Jimmy Havoc, and Hangman Page. Prior to the match, MJF cuts another great heel promo. This is just a guy who has a gift on that microphone who can cut fantastic heel promos. He makes a reference to my 600-pound life. Fantastic. Just fantastic promo. Great heel. He's looking like he's in the best shape of his career. He's taking this very seriously, and he's getting over big time because of it. MJF is the man when it comes to AEW. Another thing I love too, prior to the match starting, is Jungle Boy rides Luchasaurus out to the ring, and for some reason I just freaking love that. It just makes all the sense in the world that Jungle Boy would be riding the Luchasaurus to the ring. Makes all the sense in the world. Anyways, this was another good, solid match, right? Probably wasn't as great as it could have been, and in all honesty, it wasn't really anything. I mean, Hangman Page ended up winning. I think everyone kind of knew that Hangman Page would win because he's got the big title match coming up. So this match kind of felt pointless in a way, right? You did have a moment where Hangman Page and MJF were in the ring, and they got that moment where they could face off. But a lot of this match just felt pointless. It just I don't understand the reasoning behind it, and I don't understand the purpose for it. So there was that. I don't know. After the match, we got Darby Allin and Cody Rhodes, and this was a really good match. And one other thing, so Darby Allin comes out, and the announcers tell this great story about how when Darby Allin was 5 years old, his uncle was driving him drunk, and Darby was in the car. Uncle gets in a car accident, dies in the car accident, and they say that Darby Allin learned in that moment that he could never trust people again. And it was a great story by the commentary team, so kudos to them, because it really added a lot to Darby Allin, this character that we just, a lot of people, including myself, probably don't know who he is. He's a guy that comes down with half of his face painted. That's what I got initially. Them building that substance is fantastic. And another compliment I have to give Darby Allin that I noted in my notes, his facials, as Cody was coming out and they kept kind of cutting to Darby and they would show his facials and they would show him just kind of with his hands just sitting there. And it was great. And just a kudos to him for working that, using his facials and his hands to really tell a story there. So that was fantastic. This was a really great match. At one point, Darby Allin got thrown into the turnbuckle, but he's so skinny that he went through the ropes and to the outside. It was a great spot. Basically, the theme of the match, the story of the match is Cody was dominating because he's the much bigger guy, and he hurt his hand. And then Darby focused on that hand through the majority of the match. So that was kind of like, okay, Cody's much bigger than Darby. How do we give Darby like a competitive edge? Well, he worked the hand that Cody had hurt earlier in the match. Again, this was a great match. One thing I did notice is, there are a lot of small guys in AEW, and as long as you work it correctly and you utilize their styles to kind of play off of it, you're fine. But man, there are some guys where you just put them in the ring with other guys, and I don't want to be the guy that says like, oh, size matters and you can have an excellent match. You can be over and be a smaller guy. No one is saying that. But man, these smaller guys, when they're in the ring with some people, it's just really hard to believe that they would get any offense at all. That's all I'm going to say. Anyways, this match ended with a time limit draw. Cody hit the crossroads at the very, very end, but couldn't get the pin fast enough. Time limit draw, 3 3/4 stars. I mean, this was a really good match, and if it would have had an ending, I probably would have given it a higher rating. So Shawn Spears comes out after the match, hits Cody with a chair. Cody's bleeding. A bunch of people come out, including MJF, checking on Cody, making sure he's okay. But one thing I think I noticed this, and I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but I think Cody was hit on the opposite side of the head that was bleeding. So I noticed when he was down on the mat, like this part of his head was bleeding, the part that was touching the mat. But I'm fairly certain he took the chair shot on the other side. So I could be wrong, and I need to go back and watch that. If you notice that, though, please comment in the comment section below, because I think I saw that, and I could be wrong. Anyway, obviously they're starting something here between Shawn Spears and Cody Rhodes. The announcers really built this up as being a really terrible, heinous thing, which is funny because later in the night we would see much more heinous things. But it is what it is. Cool note, Dean Malenko's sighting at the end of this. Pretty cool note. Los Lucha Brothers, Laredo Kid taking on the Elite, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks and Kenny Omega all came out dressed as Street Fighter characters, with the Bucks being Ryu and Ken, and Kenny Omega was dressed like Akuma. It was pretty cool. I mean, tying in with the video game theme. We know the Young Bucks are big video game fans. This was cool. In the match, of course, we got a Hadouken. All 3 members of the team delivered the Hadouken. Pretty cool. Again, this was a fantastic match. I mean, let's be honest. Even just reading who's in the match, you knew this was going to be a phenomenal contest. It always is, man. Anytime the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers, and you're throwing Kenny Omega in the mix, and this Laredo kid who's pretty good and was pretty good throughout the night. This was a freaking phenomenal match. Justin Roberts, prior to the match, says a round 1 fight, just to give it that, again, that Street Fighter feel. There was a spot in the match where Matt Jackson was hitting these multiple Northern Lights suplexes on each member of the team. He would do the Northern Lights and then get up and do it again, and then, go over, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it. It was a pretty cool spot. It was a usual. I mean, look, honestly, it was the usual flippy kind of back and forth high spot match. But it was a really anytime you get these two teams in there, it's a really great match. So, what can you say about it? Fantastic match. Anyways, Kenny Omega hits the V trigger in the One Wing Angel on the Laredo Kid to get the pin. 4.5 stars. This match was freaking phenomenal from start to finish. Easy to watch, great. The Street Fighter theme really fit in with the theme of the event. Really great match. I would highly recommend watching this match and the main event. But we're going to get to the main event now. So, at this point in time, we are told that the AEW event is over. The official AEW proceedings are over, and now we're getting an unsanctioned match between Jon Moxley and Joey Janela. And the first thing, and you know this, I don't even need to tell you this, but Jon Moxley is a freaking star. He is a freaking star. He comes out instantly star power, gets the pyro, gets the star treatment. This man is over like Rover. And he is, you can just tell too by seeing him and seeing even just his motions, and his body looks better and his face. He is a motivated individual here in AEW, and he is loving life, even though after this match, I don't know how. We got tables early. This was just crazy. Fighting outside. There was a spot where Joey Janela grabbed a prosthetic leg from the crowd, and then he hit Moxley with the prosthetic leg. So that was a pretty interesting spot. Moxley starts bleeding early. Barbed wire chair gets introduced. Moxley takes a hit to the back with this barbed wire chair, and it just tears him up. Both men go through barbed wire boards, and then it really picks. There was a spot where they pulled the two tables out. Moxley was on it. Joey Janela climbs a ladder and elbow drops Moxley. Just back and forth, brutal match. And then the thumbtacks come out. My goodness. So Jon Moxley pours the thumbtacks out, okay? He takes Joey Janela's shoes and socks off, so you know you're going to get a spot where there's going to be tacks in the feet. And sure enough, there were. They're tacks in these guys' backs, tacks in the feet. Moxley's back is all cut up. Gruesome match. I mean, even the visuals of Janela with the tacks in his feet, what? Disgusting, but fantastic. Moxley ends up winning the match. 4.5 stars, man. I gotta give this a really high rating, because as gross as this match was, it was a freaking great street fight. A great hardcore match with a motivated Jon Moxley. Just fantastic. And Joey Janela, that man will put his body through anything. 4.5 stars. Awesome and gruesome match. I'm only taking 0.5 stars off because of how gruesome those tags in the feet were. Just turned some people off. Anyways, after the match, Kenny Omega comes out, attacks Jon Moxley, and we go off the air with Jon Moxley smiling, knowing he's brought out the worst in Kenny Omega. Overall, another great show from AEW. This was a smaller show, so going in, I had lower expectations. They delivered so much more than that. I left very pleased, very happy. We had 2 really great main events. The rest of the card, we're kind of developing some storylines, and we're moving in directions, and we're getting there. So another great show from AEW. I would highly recommend it. And it was free if you live in the United States, so what do you have to lose, right? Coming up next now for them, we have Fight for the Fallen. And I'm looking forward to that card as well. And then we move into All Out. So we'll probably do another one of these videos for Fight for the Fallen as well, and I may throw some more wrestling content in. I don't know. I'm a big wrestling fan, so I love talking about it, but I want to diversify content on my channel for you guys, so maybe wrestling will be something that we bring a little more in. Anyways, if you had a chance to watch Fyter Fest, tell me, go ahead and comment in the comment section what you thought of the event. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? What do you think about Jon Moxley? What do you think about the hardcore? Do you think it's too much for AEW? Maybe they should steer away from the blood and guts. Tell me what you think. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content. If you want to see video game content, some of my playthroughs, or if you want to see some more wrestling content, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. AEW Fyter Fest, another great show. Thank you very much, everybody.